The Lantern at Briar Hollow. Long ago, when paths were made by feet rather than maps, there was a quiet place called Briar Hollow. It lay between a slow river and a line of low, listening hills. The kind of place where mornings arrived gently and evenings seemed to linger a little longer than they did elsewhere. At the edge of the hollow stood a small cottage with a mossed roof and a crooked chimney. In its front window, every night without fail, a lantern was lit. No one remembered when the lantern had first appeared there. It was simply known that when dusk came, the light would glow, steady and warm, until morning. The lantern belonged to an old woman who lived alone in the cottage. She never felt lonely. Her days passed quietly, marked by small, familiar routines. Each morning, she swept the hearth. Each afternoon, she boiled water for tea. And in the evenings, she listened to the wind as it wandered past her door. When the sun slipped behind the hills, she lit the lantern. Some believed the light was meant for travellers, though few passed through Briar Hollow anymore. Others thought it was for the animals, who sometimes gathered near the cottage at night. A fox once slept beneath the window. An owl often rested in the nearby tree. The old woman never explained. She simply lit the lantern as she always had. One evening, as the sky softened into shades of blue and grey, something changed. A child stood at the edge of the path. He did not seem afraid, though he looked tired. His boots were dusty, and his cloak hung loosely around his shoulders. He watched the lantern carefully, as if it were something he had been hoping to find. The old woman opened the door. "You may come closer," she said gently. The child did. "I was following the river," he said, "but it grew dark." She nodded, as if this were the most natural thing in the world. Inside, she poured a cup of warm tea and placed it in his hands. Steam rose slowly, and the child breathed it in. He drank without hurry. For a while, neither of them spoke. Outside, the lantern continued to glow. After some time, the child asked, "Why do you light it every night?" The old woman looked at the flame for a long moment before answering. "Because light remembers the way," she said. The child thought about this, but did not ask more. Some answers did not need to be opened. When the tea was finished, The old woman showed him a small bed near the hearth. The fire crackled softly, pleased to have company. "You may rest here," she said. "Morning will come on its own." The child lay down, and sleep found him easily. During the night, the wind passed through Briar Hollow. It touched the hills, brushed the river, and circled the cottage once before moving on. The lantern remained lit, steady, and sure. At dawn, the child woke to birdsong and pale light. The old woman was already awake. She wrapped a piece of bread in cloth and placed it in his hand. "The river will guide you again," she said. The child stepped back onto the path. He turned once to look at the cottage, the quiet window, the place where the lantern had been. But the lantern was gone. Only sunlight filled the glass. The child smiled, though he wasn't certain why, and continued on his way. That evening, as light faded from Briar Hollow, the lantern returned to the window, as it always did, and somewhere nearby, a path felt easier to follow.